later, go and tell the content creators. Tell the badgers, the bees, and the backstabbers. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down. Tell them that judge will cut you down.
Hey everybody, we are live and hopefully our sound is working. So I'll do a little checky here on the good old Imperium News Network. RJ, you good? Can you hear us? Because I can see you.
I can hear you.
Excellent. McLeod, you around?
I am indeed.
All right, that means we can probably, Scythe can probably hear us too. Scythe? Yeah.
Scythe is dead. I killed him.
Oh, God.
Oh, he's alive.
Krista Reeve subbed for 14 months straight. Thank you very much for that sub. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And Addy Dak can hear me too on the old Twitch feed, so that is good to know. We were having a problem. Actually, the problem was actually sitting in Discord. It wasn't so much with
No. The problem was that you fucked up. All right.
I was gonna
No.
say
Don't
something.
even start with the we were in Discord and Discord broke. No, you broke it.
I did.
I was gonna say the problem was between the computer and the keyboard.
A little pepcac action,
It's between
right?
chair and keyboard, sir.
Discord's been Discord's been roboting and freaking disconnected all morning. So
Yeah. Well, no, it happens when I switch my when I switch from speakers to headset, because I don't always play with headset. You know, if I'm playing World of Warships, I like giant booms and the reverberation through the subwoofer, right?
You like it when you're firing your cannons that the sort of the pictures on the wall sort of start to shake off.
I like
Need
that.
to be out of level by the time he's done playing around.
I only have 2 pictures in my office actually right now. I only have
Sounds
2.
like a few too few pictures.
I have this'll be funny. Actually, same painter. Actually, I have the same painter on both of those.
Are they the stupid caricatures from work?
They are not stupid characters from work. They are both. I don't know if I should actually admit this online, right? They are both Thomas Kincaid. Prince.
Where's your house again so I can rob it?
No. You probably really want my Babylon 5 chalks. I have a set of 3 Babylon 5 chalks signed by almost the entire cast in gold, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
But that would be in the living room, the room nobody's allowed to go into, right?
Like the kids aren't even like it's called the living room, but no, if you go in there, you get killed by Eric.
You're allowed to go into the family room. The living room is that room off to the side that nobody ever uses except if you have guests, right? And it's right off of the dining room
for useless shit than I do at my house.
see, there's a differences in like how you speak in like different parts of the country or whatever. Because when I was up in Cleveland, you'd have the front room, right? And then you have the fake front room, like the one that was just set up and, it was like static, no one goes in there. But then you had like the living room, which was like your front room. This was really weird because ours was in the back.
So our living room is where the couch and the TV and that's where we hang out as a family is. Like, do y'all not have that? Like, what the fuck is wrong with your plate?
So the living room is the couch and the TV. That's the TV room.
Okay.
Here in the Northeast, right?
Fucking
he said Cleveland. They're fucked up in Cleveland. I mean, come on.
Dude, you're in fucking.
They hired
fucking lounge that no one can go in.
I'll tell you where you can shove that yellow towel.
This is not even knee related. It's so bad.
Their football team's 0-what? 0-what?
You can shove that towel. You know where?
I love my towel.
All I want to say on this particular topic
You
is,
know what happened?
You fucking was it?
What happened to the last team that disrespected the towel there, RJ? Huh? Tennessee?
Hey.
They had a banner season that season, didn't they, after that game?
Hey, I'm from Cleveland, man, and I'll admit the Browns are fucking garbage.
Johnny
But, hey,
Manziel, he was a good choice. I'll never forget the day a certain quarterback came in the bar and said, "Look, they drafted Manziel. That's going to be fucking hilarious." He's going to suck. Okay, enough Cleveland bashing. McLeod was going to interject.
McLeod was going to start talking about how Man U played some person and they scored 1 goal, and that was the banner year for them.
No, I was going to say something, and then you
I don't
guys
know,
changed
you're
the
a cup
subject
soccer
completely,
world.
so I can't be fucking asked
So-
anymore.
Say something about football, and then we'll go on.
No, we're done.
You guys play fucking hand egg.
That is correct. Moving on. That's the most accurate statement of today.
Hey, you know, when one of our guys leaves the field of play over here, you know, that place you call the pitch, he's not faking a calf strain. Okay? The dude fucking has a concussion. He has a concussion and he wants to get back on the fucking field and hit someone. Okay?
His
No,
knee doesn't
he's
exist
no,
anymore.
he's faking a concussion because like he seemingly got hit pretty hard, but through all of that fucking padding, he barely fucking felt it.
That's true.
Oh, he felt it. Trust me.
No, they feel it, dude. It's a
No, you fucking you want to talk
All
about
right,
feeling
so
something, feeling
next time
getting
we
hit?
get
Play
McLeod
rugby.
to the U.S., we're gonna get some football pads from a local school. We'll just borrow them.
I'd get him in the training facility. We'll have
We'll get him in the. We'll get him in the training facility. We'll have one of the fucking defensive linemen just knock the shit out of him.
Mr. McLeod.
Gladly.
I'd like you to beat Mr. Harrison.
And then we'll take it off and actually play rugby.
Rugby hits aren't that hard. I played rugby.
Actually, one of the guys,
Rugby than football.
You're a fucking moose, though.
one of the guys that works for me
I'd still
actually
rather
plays
play rugby than
semi-professional rugby.
football. The people you're playing with are not douchebags.
Douchebags. Hey, by the way, I like European football, or as we say in America, soccer. I grew up playing it for a very long time. I did not play football myself after the 4th grade. So
Definitely a soccer
I'm actually a big fan, even though I was making fun of it a little bit there.
I was good. I just played soccer when I was a children's.
Yeah, I was a
until
children's
I was like 18.
till you were 18. Yeah, I did. I made it. I made it to
never
my
played
freshman
freshman
year in high school. After my freshman year, I stopped playing because cross country, and I know that's hard to believe. Seeing me on the screen now, but I was actually a pretty good long distance runner. There are pictures and video, unfortunately. So we were talking about rooms in the house. Well, the big thing I wanted to talk about today before
rooms
we
in the
get
house.
underway, is hey, if you guys ever eat, a bowl of mixed nuts, that's going to be used somewhere as a takeaway.
This sounds like a
out of the
loaded
show.
question.
It sounds like
Fuck
Eric
is
likes
this?
nuts in his
It's like
mouth.
this is the
Yeah.
main topic that we have. If you eat a bit of
This is not the main topic. This is the
Eric,
the
do you
warm
like
up.
those nuts in your mouth?
No. I mean, so you have a big thing. My wife came home the other day with a fucking 5-pound looked like fucking coffee, thing. 5 pounds of coffee, 5 pounds of nuts, mixed nuts, right?
A lot of nuts.
And
Life loves nuts.
so I got a bowl because I have to behave because I actually have to work after the show. So I'm actually drinking water today. Yeah.
You have to
But
go
when you get
work.
mixed nuts out of there, is not the Brazil nut like the nut nobody wants to get out of the mixed nut
I
thing?
like the Brazil nut though. If I don't have to crack a Brazil nut, I like the Brazil nut. But cracking a Brazil nut is a pain in the ass.
There's one interesting fact about Brazil nuts. In actual fact,
Yeah.
they are slightly radioactive. So if you eat too many or have too many on your person when you go through like security at an airport, it will actually flag you up as though like you've got minor degrees of radiation.
No
Be
shit.
like, sir, are you smuggling Brazil
So,
nuts or
do you
yellow
work,
cake?
Sir, do you by any chance work at the power plant by any chance? Maybe a nuclear power plant by any chance? No,
I
why?
work for
Okay, we're gonna have to have you step away, and this is gonna take a while.
I can't tell this story, but when I was younger, my grandfather told me that Brazilians were called something very, very racist.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard that.
And I don't know if that's a Southern thing or if my grandpa was fucking with me or what. But I was like 8, and he said, "Nah, that's not what those are called." I'm like, "Yeah, they are." And he's like, "Nah, they're called this."
I'm actually trying to decide is my favorite nut in the mixed nuts the cashew or the almond?
I go for the almonds.
It's the pecan, sir. It is the pecan.
Oh yeah, they're good too.
The pecan is the greatest because you can just eat them like fresh out of the shell, or if you take them, put them in the oven for a minute or two, get them nice and warm, sprinkle a little bit of salt, or even cinnamon sugar and cayenne pepper at the same time on them.
I miss cayenne pepper.
What do you mean you miss cayenne pepper?
I can't have.
Oh yeah,
that's
spicy food.
Yeah. Because you have weird things.
Erox wants to know what's the half-life of a dude who's been eating too many Brazil nuts.
Approximately 3 to 4 shits later.
You know, but it makes a hell of a. You know, when you start to glow, it's great for Halloween, right?
Oh yeah. That's a good part. Like it's a party trick that never stops, literally.
So
Taking a look at the viewer list here, I see Caleb's in the freaking crowd.
Caleb's in the crowd. Caleb,
he's hanging out with River probably.
Yeah, they're probably over in Amsterdam.
Eve, Amsterdam. Caleb, you should be drinking, not watching our shitty show.
Oh, he's drinking.
He's smoking. What the fuck is he doing?
He's probably drinking right now.
Nah, he probably is trying to figure out how air works again.
That's me. Hey, I want to say, give a shout out to, let's see, who we can use? Kane Felmont for subscribing for 32 months in a row. 32 months, excellent. A little round of applause out there, everybody. Please, applause. Watching. So, thank you to everybody who's watching, everybody who subs, everybody who tips, everybody who sends bits. Thank you very much for all that you do there. We appreciate it here at INN. And it's weird because I have my camera at a weird angle today, and I have to keep looking over to it to look out.
I just look everywhere. I got big 4 screens, so I'm always over everywhere.
I know that's my problem. I'm like going all over the place. So we had a lot of activity this week. We had kind of the Devil's Night Massacre over at CCP, didn't we? And everybody seems to be talking about it.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
You know, I mean, I don't really know any of the devs personally, but I've been watching a lot of folks at INN and a lot of people out there on Reddit and things that really did have relationships with some of these devs, and it's getting pretty emotional. And they're pretty upset. I mean, I saw Manic Velocity over on the Open Com show, and he was pretty amped up, and he's a pretty mellow dude, you know.
Dude, that show last night was fucking insane. Like it was, I watched the entire show, and it just went from like you have just the intense curve. It just went like this, and it just like just straight up. Dude. Like towards the end, it was like almost about to get into fisticuffs.
Oh, it was close. Dirk was jazzed.
Rain was so pumped up there. Like, oh my god,
dude,
it was just flying off the handle, man.
I thought I was waiting for someone to punch a screen, but I was like, I don't think it's going to get to that point. But then it's like Drayden had to just cut it.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, RuneShift was coming on to fill.
It's funny. I was in the chat just going, fucking, just do it, just fucking do it. Like subtle, like you know what they're saying. Just fucking do what you gotta do.
Yeah, because they got a Drayden's channel after there for the after show, right?
Yeah,
and that is something I wish that's a show I wish I could just hang out with them and drink on Friday nights, but I don't really get that, you know, because you know I gotta watch Gold Rush, go to bed early, shit like that.
Yeah. I remember I did the after show once, but yeah. I did the after show once, but I was just way too blitzed.
Yeah,
I didn't last long.
So I mean, you know, McLeod, what are you making of this? I mean, it is a huge chunk of business.
It's pretty harsh to a lot of people, but like there's also like, you know, you can look at this kind of like as it is right now and be like, that was really fucking harsh by Helmar, etc., etc. But like, I mean, what's more harsh? Like, keeping everything there, but then running the company completely into the ground and basically going, oh yeah, by the way, guys, we have to shut up shop and sell everything because we don't have any money left. Like, what's the worst? The worst of those two options, and I think that's really the latter. So I kind of think that although it is a hard thing to do, I think it's probably is the better of two pretty harsh options, pretty hard options.
No, I could paraphrase Falcon from this morning on Talking in Station. You compared like how this is all going down and how everybody got told or whatnot, and it's like comparing to most other companies where it's like put your shit in a box and get the fuck out. It's like they're actually, whoever's gotten this notification is getting helped out. So the company's actually supporting them on their way out instead of just saying get the fuck out.
Well,
yeah,
sure they got
there's a
severance packages and stuff, right?
There's a lot of family atmosphere, but it's not just like oh, here's your corporate package, here you are, you should be fine, etc. There's a lot of friendly kind of hand, help outs and all that kind of thing going on. So, it's good, definitely good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're a smaller company, right? I mean, they only have a little over 300 employees, right? So you can do things a little differently than you can in a company that has, let's say, 55,000 or more, right?
Because I'll tell you right now, me being in freaking contracting, if I got freaking told to go to HR on Monday, it's just like, hey, here's your final deuces. And I know that's how it would be. But it's a big fucking company.
Contractors are different, right?
Yeah. Like, here's your papers, go.
Yeah. Yeah, and
talk about contractors.
Yeah, and
one contractor today did a fairly decent thing, fairly funny thing when he went out.
What?
Oh,
you're talking about
Don't tell me that you
Twitter?
didn't fucking hear about
I don't think that was a contractor at Twitter, right?
I thought it was a contractor.
Are you sure it wasn't an FTE?
I'm fairly certain they said it was a contractor.
I heard FTE, so I don't know.
Well,
who knows? Who doesn't matter. Somebody on their last day, right? Yeah. That person actually, if they had a package, if they were an FTE, probably lost it because of that, right?
They would have, yeah.
Yeah, you might.
That's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking it probably was a contractor because,
or they didn't have a package and they were it was their last day, right? They're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
That wasn't saying they were fired or let go or laid off, right? They could have just been, hey, I'm going to work for Facebook, right?
Yeah, you could have just been like, well, this is where my contract ends, and they haven't renewed it, so
And for those who don't know, we're talking about the Twitter employee who on their last day, the last thing they did was delete President Trump's account, which, hey.
Love that man. Give him a medal. That's funny.
Give him a medal. Yeah, it lasted for all of 15 minutes.
Still amazing.
So I don't think it's that big a deal, but I mean, it would have been a big deal had it been a different president, but most people won't think it's a big deal for this one. The interesting thing, right? And Erox is mentioning some things, and I want to go from a pure business perspective on this, right? When I look at a company and what we don't know, right? Because it's a privately held company, we really don't know in depth what their financials are, right? But I can tell you from experience in more than one corporation and being on more than one either private company boards or something of that nature, right? That if your division or your department doesn't make its numbers, there is generally only one place to go to get that, right? You can't limit your software licenses. You can't change your rental agreements. You can't change your hosting agreements. The only thing that you can do to recoup that money throughout the rest of the year, or the rest of your fiscal year, however it resides, is from personnel. And personnel is your biggest cost expense, right? Yep. So that leads some people to do some speculation, but we have to also remember that they got $30 million in VC funds, right? And in the VC world, there can be all kinds of things attached to that money, right? And it could be so much as they have to then, if they didn't reach certain milestones, technically they could have been required to sell off that part of the business or stop in that business, that they wouldn't give them more, right? So there's
Yeah.
no way for us to tell the reason, right? Because we just don't have that.
So
I mean, what do
think
you
you
guys
can
think?
spot the reason. I mean, I said this in like in Talking Station after show or whatever, but in the voice, it's if it was me and I was looking at this, I would have cut VR too.
Yeah.
On the whole thing. Just
Sure.
I said it before in the whole thing. It's because of the hardware. So right now, yeah, I got a freaking tower sitting next to me with a graphics card in it that could support VR. But the problem is those headsets are up in the $700, $800 range. And you only had one that was Oculus that dropped down to the $400. It's still freaking expensive. Most people don't have the tower to support that, let alone be able to buy the freaking headset for it as well. They're not getting the volume out of it. If you're looking at it, like say the way I do, I think everything is probably going to go AR first, because if you got a smartphone right now, augmented reality is already freaking. You can have that on your phone. They can just go boom like that, and it's there. And all you got to do is download the app. Whereas with everything else in VR, you got to buy all this extra shit for it, and maybe even a new computer for it, and that's just not going to happen because it's freaking expensive. So, me looking at that, like they cut out, I think, and that's why they said they're going to revisit it in 2 to 3 years to see if the volume's there for them to actually maybe make a better profit out of it, if they were even profiting. So
Plus, there's also some other kind of like technical aspects of VR at the moment that kind of make it a little bit awkward to use. Like there's the tethered aspect of VR at the moment, which yes, I know some certain things like Gear VR and sort of the the Samsung stuff and the sort of the Sony stuff kind of it tends to sort of is untethered, but their kind of experiences is much less of like basically like VR Lite, which can be a little bit nauseating and a little bit kind of like detrimental to actually your sort of overall feel to VR. I think the technology needs to get to the point where like you have Oculus Rift kind of level experience, but in an untethered kind of manner. Plus, there's also the fact that with virtual reality kind of stuff, you need to have a fairly I say fairly wide open space, the moderately open kind of area for you to actually, do your whole VR thing in without hitting a lamp or a fucking
You
light.
need Eric's special room that no one else is allowed to go.
Special room.
Like a living
Fucking
room.
extra living room that we don't actually live in at
A
all.
room you're not allowed to
No one
use.
can go in.
See,
Like for me, I'd have to be sitting down to use.
Technically, we have the loft for that, but yeah.
I would only be able to use
He's
VR.
adding rooms.
No VR in the wine cellar, Scythe. No VR in the wine cellar. We're not allowed
That's
to have
the
it
place
there.
to do it. So when you
No.
need to drink a potion in that fantasy game, you could actually drink some wine.
No, there's a small
That
little
heals you, right? That heals
small
you.
little table in the middle with 4 chairs. Gets in the way. Sorry.
Well,
Maybe
It's very
maybe
humid.
that's what VR
It's
needs.
very-
You play VR poker at that little table.
It's
Maybe
very
that's what
humid
VR
and
needs.
chilly
Like-
in that room.
Maybe that's what VR needs. VR needs like a sort of a cross VR AR kind of thing where it actually like augments the play sort of scene to your scene. So if you do need to like drink a potion, like it actually sort of simulates where the bottle is to your real bottle.
Did you ever see the Kickstarter for? It was a mobile game that came out. It was supposed to be a horror game, and what you do is you shut the lights off in your house, and it would use it's like walking around your house in the freaking dark, and it would turn your flashlight on. It would start flashing your flashlight, but it would create monsters that would come out of these doors. It would detect where all of your, your architecture is in your house or whatnot, and make things come out of places that scare the shit out of you. But you're walking around in your house pitch black with just your LED light on your phone. And it's mixing that. It was
amazing.
It was on a Kickstarter a long time ago, but it never came out. But it looked fucking amazing.
The only
It's amazing,
Kickstarter app I seen like that actually looked like it would be beneficial to me anyways. They had one that was like the tabletop gaming army thing where it would overlay the Battlefield stuff on your table, so you could just load in your army for like.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've talked about that one before on the show. But that's
Yeah, I think we showed the video for it a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It was
That
it was
looks
for
cool.
One of the releases on the Apple Keynote. It was one of the UE4 kind of releases where they were mixing
Yeah.
it with it. But it's like I was showing people at work this shit because I had my iPad Pro out and I was playing. It was a zombie gunship, but it was the Apache one. So, it said, focus your camera here or whatnot. So I'm shooting zombies, and all of a sudden I stand up, and now I'm starting to walk around the back of them and doing all this other crazy shit. So I mean, it's already built in. And this iPad, like one of the original iPad Pros from way back then, and AR is already built into it. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna override freaking VR. I think everybody's gonna go for AR.
Yeah, my sister asked me probably, I think it was like last Christmas. She asked if it was finally time to buy her son a VR headset for their PlayStation. And I said, no, the technology's just not there yet. And when CCP went into this whole VR, I think we felt at the time, you got a little munchkin. Oh, no. That could have been bad.
Yeah.
I'll kill you. You can go deal with it. I'll kill your feed so we don't get in trouble.
Yeah, she's out.
Okay, good. So.
Oh, no.
But we thought it was too early, right? We thought it was too early, and they were chasing rainbows.
The problem with it, you saying it's too early, is you need people to go and essentially die on the sword to just make it better. You have to have something out there for people to buy it to make people want to put money into it. So companies don't want to make something that no one's actually going to be able to buy. So
it's like I was about to jump on a freaking Oculus Rift just because Valkyrie was getting released. And I was like, this looks like a badass game. And then I started looking at the prices. I'm like, I'm not going to do it just because of that price.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not ready for prime time. Some technologies never make it, right?
I mean,
some
if they
do.
refine it more, and all the rest of those headsets, I'd say if it comes down to maybe the $200 range, then they're going to get the volume out of it.
It's got to be here's what it's got to be. It's got to be an add-on to an existing piece of hardware. So it's got to be something that is a cheap peripheral onto your PC, onto your PlayStation.
It needs to be standard monitor price of like $200 because, like, I don't know about
$250.
I'm not going to spend more than $300 on a monitor just because I want like 4 of them. So
you also got to look at it as like right now, every graphics card that's coming out now is already VR ready.
Yeah.
If you're, and once all the older graphics card filters themselves out, and then I think that's like that 2 to 3 year time frame that I guess CCP is looking at, because you can already see they're having the foresight to it. Once everybody starts getting the new graphics cards, everything is VR capable. Then maybe they'll get back into it, and then the headsets will come down in price as well.
So are you thinking we need the 1100 series graphic cards to come out before they're going to be able to really do anything? Just for the cards to be cheap enough for them to be prevalent, to make VR prevalent, maybe?
Dude, you can do it on a freaking 1050 or is it 1060?
Well, yeah, but we need the 1100 series so that the 1000 series will be, or the 1000 series will be cheaper. So the 1090s, 1080s, 1070s are cheaper if the 1180s are out.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes some time for the hardware to get out, and it's like I said, it's like they're saying it's going to be like 2 to 3 years probably. Oh yeah, and there with the Noisy Gamers, you can do it with a 970.
But if you do it with a 970 DOS, it doesn't perform as well. Like the 970s are great, but they still don't perform as well for that specific application.
So we're all talking about optimal performance.
Yeah,
it has to be that.
Yeah, it needs to be optimal performance because people don't want to use something that's not actually working. I guess would be the best way to put it. Like where if you're experiencing frame drops and crashes just because your graphics card's not able to handle it, you don't want to play that. It's not fun. It ruins continuity. It ruins suspension of disbelief.
Well,
it just ruins the environment.
It ruins the immersion. That's the whole key to it. You're wanting to get into VR. It's all about the immersion factor of it. And if you don't have the immersion, VR is fucking shit.
I would like to say that the other thing is, like, if you're having performance issues with VR, like, it can be more than just it ruining immersion. You could actually end up getting nausea and being sick because of it.
Yeah, if you're not running smoothly, it could really screw with your head.
Now you're talking about frame rates and friggin' refresh rates and shit like that. That can really fuck with people.
They also need to get VR set up to where you can kind of like enforce a prescription onto the lenses. just like like adjustable focus, essentially, so that people with glasses can fucking play those, because them shits hurt with glasses on, from what I've been told.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos where the glasses don't work. Like normal prescription glasses don't work really well with them.
Yeah. I don't know.
By the way,
I'll
just subtly slip some Eve stuff in here. I was just out on Dotlan. Some regions look a little interesting this morning.
Really?
Is it Delve?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Now I gotta go look at Dotlan. I don't want to go look at Dotlan.
So, that said, one thing that Noisy brings up in here, and Noisy, you're always welcome. You can just pop on the freaking Discord and hang out with us if you want to.
Yeah, Noisy, come to coffee.
You know that when one of the original VC guys, right, when he passed away, that fueled some, is CCP going to sell, right, and do some things. I will admit, from a pure business perspective, when you cut a third of your company, about a third of your workforce, right, there's one of two things happening, right? One, you're trying to save yourself from going up from sale, and two, you're trying to adjust your bottom line to maximize your sale, right? That is complete tinfoil hat on both sides. There is nothing really to substantiate that comment other than what companies do historically, right? That is all I will say there. And we dropped a couple packets there if you saw us spin and stop. So we'll see see if the network holds up here.
Well, we missed most of your point because you dropped off to us.
Okay, yeah, so we dropped 120 packets there. So what I said was, there's two things that come to mind from a pure business perspective, right? This is pure speculation and everything, right? So don't take this like we have any insight to this. Is when you cut a third of your workforce, which is essentially what they did, right? One of two things is happening. One, you see significant profit impact in the next coming year that is going to affect you, and you need to adjust for it, right? And save yourself from going into trouble, right? The other is that you're adjusting your bottom line to maximize the sale, right? And that's where people speculate about those two things. And I'm going to say, from a business perspective, a pure business perspective, I think what CCP did out there, at the beginning of the week, is they took advantage to call the workforce in a way that they could get rid of some individuals that perhaps they didn't want, right? Because that always happens when you do something like this. And also, I think that the VC area was in no way meeting income expectations and had no foreseeable future of meeting those income expectations, so they had to get out of it. So unlike what they've done with some of their other IP that they had, holding on to it for too long, they just decided to cut their losses early. I think that's what really happened.
And there was something else said this morning as well, and I may be wrong. Anybody who watched the Talking Station this morning can correct me, but there were some offers, I guess, if I heard it right, there were some offers like, hey, move to Iceland, but they weren't taken up just because of personal reasons, like they couldn't. So
we know of that in one case, right? We know of that in one case.
Yeah, one case at least. That could have been on many cases, but it's just one that's known right now.
Right. You
I think they said Manifest. I think it was CCB Manifest. He was offered that to move from Atlanta to Iceland, and he said that he couldn't because of personal reasons, and that's the reason why he left. I think that was
and that's the only one we know of for sure, right? There are there's at least one other person that was released that doesn't surprise me at all. I'll keep that to myself. Those of you here on the panel might know who that individual might be. Doesn't surprise me at all. But I mean, really, it's from a personal perspective, and I had this one boss. Everybody thought he was a hard-nosed guy. He never really cared about anybody else, right? But he was really a softie if you really knew him, right? It doesn't matter why somebody is released from a company, no matter where it is. You never want to see somebody fired. You never want to see somebody laid off, let go, for any reason. And the reason is because that always puts them in a tough financial spot, right? And you don't want to wish ill upon anybody, even if you don't particularly think they're good at their job, right?
It's like hell. Even me, I was just recently in some type of situation like that where I was on. They did it by an Excel spreadsheet, and I was one row away from layoff. Instead, they moved me to another spot, another position. Where they needed numbers. So it's like I was that close.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in enough situations where I'm told, keep your employees ranked at all times, because when HR calls, you're going to have 15 minutes to tell them the rank of your employees. They're going to take it, they're going to put it in a spreadsheet, and then they're going to come out and tell you who you keep and who you let go. You're not even going to make the decision.
That's all it's going to be.
I got the impression from Falcon, at least on Talking in Stations, that a lot of the people who they let go at Iceland to do with community from the community team. I got the impression that they were pure community sort of management people, like not community management people, but part of the community team, but not really part of anything else. Whereas I think because of their downsizing, they were trying to actually get more people to do a variety of different jobs. I think they had redundancy, not redundancy as in you've been made redundant, but I think they had additional staff in Iceland who dealt with community, but also had a bunch of other duties and other kind of qualities to sort of help them keep their their position in Iceland. So I think the thing is, a lot of people saw the kind of the axing of a lot of pure community kind of staff members from CCP, but there is they have that, and then they have the redundancy of other kind of staff members who can deal with community related stuff, and I think they're falling back on that redundancy.
I think in the case of the Eve people, I think you're entirely right? And I think that's probably the best light to look at it. And I get it that the community people and people in the community, right, are all riled up. They're like, who are we going to talk to? Who are going to do the things for us? Who's going to interact with us at CCP, right? Clearly, from a management perspective, CCP thinks that they've got bloat there, right? And hey, let's face it, corporations on a 3-year cycle, in general, trim the fat every 3 years, right? You put your budget out there. You say, hey, if you want me to do X, you got to give me another FTE or 2 FTEs or whatever it is. And you keep giving them FTEs. And then at some point you say, holy shit, the percent of my payroll is way out of whack with my income statement, right? There's a formula for all this, right? Marketing is X percent, payroll is X percent. All of this works in a percent. And you've got to bring everything back in line. And it's easier to cut a community person than a development person or an art person that you can assign tangible income to, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing will happen is, somebody will say, we can't keep up with the community. We got to do this. And then they'll start adding FTEs over the next 3 years. And,
I know if you see a lot of different moves and stuff that they're making, they actually could do what they did and cut their community support and whatnot. Yeah. But if you look at what's getting set up now, now you actually have regular streamers on, say, CCP Twitch. If they start poking and prodding all that other stuff, it's almost like free promotion from the players themselves.
Okay.
So they let the community run themselves.
Yeah.
With one or two overheads that they have, like say Falcon and Guard.
Yeah, and I think that's true too, because when you look at how communities around games generally operate, it's generally not guided by CCP, right? A community person doesn't set up and maintain Thunderdome. There's devs and sysadmins and people that do that, right? I mean, a community person may ask and say, hey, by the way, we're going to schedule the INN crew here, the Eve TV people over here, right? They may maintain that schedule, but guess what? You may not need 5 full-time people to handle all that.
Yeah.
Right? And Noisy put the 3-year layoff cycle, right? And if they did have layoffs in 2011, 2014, because I don't follow it that close, that's really close to the standard corporate 3-year cycle of bloat, right?
Yep.
But I will say, I mean, laying off the number of people they did and exiting VR, the one thing that doesn't make sense to me is why are they saying that they're going to keep supporting Spark and Valkyrie, right?
Yeah,
From
how are they
VR.
going to keep supporting Spark and Valkyrie? Is the question.
You can't. They've got to sell the IP off. Why keep it? You're not going to develop it. You're not going to make no money out of it.
I don't see them selling the IP of Valkyrie off just because it's in their universe.
Yeah.
But then you also look at Valkyrie and the fucking fighters you're flying around look nothing like the actual fighters in EVE Online. The only thing that looks similar are the big ships in the background or the carriers you're assaulting. So I mean,
yeah, but they can. I mean, they can license
there's
that off
nothing really
too.
there, you know.
I mean,
Well,
but
I think where they
you
like-
can license that to a development house and just take a percentage piece.
Oh
right?
yeah, like
Right.
Honestly, I think where they lacked in Valkyrie was not giving me friggin' full stick and rudder control. Like
Yeah.
not being able to plug in my X52 Pro and actually use throttle and freaking,
Yeah.
Valkyrie
Yeah.
plays best on a fucking joystick, not a joystick, controller. The freaking like Xbox controller. Like it's sad that that's the case. You can't even.
I tried to play it on a keyboard and it was unplayable to me at Vegas.
It's pretty bad on the keyboard.
Yeah.
After you played it for about a minute, you go, okay, it's not terrible. But the fact that the fighting system in that is more akin to like old school freaking Ace Combat or whatever just makes me mad. I'm like, we have the technology to go in all directions if needed. Let's fucking use it. Like there are other games that do it better. Let's put it that way.
then it turns into mini Elite Dangerous or something like that. Because I'll freaking bust someone up in Elite Dangerous with my X52 Pro just because I know how to fly.
Yeah.
Just if you know how to fly like in real life, you can. You can mess some people up in a freaking space sim. Man.
But no, my thing is like there's a game it's called like Strike Vector or something like that is basically Valkyries except it's a lot more customizable per ship, and it's a free to freaking play game that does it better. I'm like, what's going on? Why is this better? And it's just because the control scheme doesn't fit to the genre that they are supposedly in.
Yeah, I mean the main selling point of Valkyrie really was the VR element of it. Like it was the full immersion VR aspect of it. You know, a lot of people who said that they did have, the Oculus Rifts and stuff like that. You know, I saw a bunch of people who said that basically that's their favorite game on it because of the immersion. Like. Mm-hmm. You know, when you break the immersion away from that game, it just becomes, very much a middle of the road kind of game.
Yeah, it's
unfortunately.
Yeah, but then you could just go over to friggin' Elite Dangerous. They're set up for friggin' VR, and that's I'd say even more of immersion because you're looking around your entire friggin' ship cabin, and then you're friggin' punching buttons and doing all this other crap.
Honestly, so. I'm gonna say the name of the game, and y'all are gonna be like, "Yeah, we don't need to talk about it here." But Star Citizen does it best because literally, you have some. It's kind of like Armor, where there's a control for everything. You can map it however you want to however many joysticks, sub-controllers, anything like that you want, and it fucking plays well.
But they have to release it first.
They need to release it. That's the problem. A game that's not out technically yet plays better. Think about that.
They just, I mean,
it plays better.
They just need to do something with it.
Fun.
Stop freaking stalling on it. Get the core of it out at least, and freaking go from there. I mean,
there are also people. Y'all need to stop telling them to put it out. It's a fucking MMO now. It's gonna take 15 years dev cycle. Like, the average is 10. All right.
You have to kind of
MMOs take about 10 years to develop on average, if not longer. So
you have to kind of. You have to sort of sort of change how you kind of perceive what a dev cycle is and what a finished product like a finished product is versus a product that is going to be continually developed for a long period of time. Because you look at the original kind of aspects of like what you consider to be a beta, an alpha, and an alpha, a beta, and a release. Like in terms of game development, like MMOs don't they don't fall into those sorts of things because they're constantly being developed. So technically, they're constantly betas. So you basically look at EVE and go, well, EVE has basically like been a 10, 12 year beta. So
it's been a 10, 12 year beta, maybe alpha sometimes. Christ.
So So you can't really say, oh right, you just have you have to release stuff, something from Star System at some point. Well, you kind of have to. You can say the same thing with Eve, really.
You're saying they need to release stuff. They have the modules out there for you to go and test and see what you've paid for and what the final product is going to essentially. These are the major features for the final product, and then we're going to throw MMO on top of it. And all of it's good. I haven't done anything in that. Like literally, I go up to this this derelict space station. I get out of my ship, and then I'm a fucking space marine, and I'm going through here clearing enemies out. Like, I can't ask for more out of something other than when is it coming out, because I can't wait for it to come out.
And then that's the thing that's killing them, is them holding it from coming out. That's what I say. They've
been in development for like 4 years. They haven't really even put much into it yet.
I know. It's like get the card up.
To make an omelet, and the chicken hasn't even been born yet. All right, to even lay an egg.
I think what we really need to ask about the development of Star Citizen is really the percentage of how much you raised, how much of it has gone to hookers and blow.
I would like to see a hookers and blow ratio, but
that's a variable right
because I wanted to be in the credits for the game.
That's a variable right there.
Oh man, you're getting your ass killed in chat. Hey, I'm gonna differentiate Eve from a lot of this stuff, because I do think we kind of sometimes it feels like we live in the age of the alpha and the beta games that never make it to release. Right now, Eve Online is a fairly stable product, and I say that it really is. That has enhancements that are released, what I would call in beta, that are then brought up to a full release from a modular perspective, and I'll use Citadels as a case in point, right? In my mind, when they released Citadels, they should have had all the shit that a station has in them, be done with it, right? They should have had cloning, they should have had everything that, they should have had repair, they should have had all the stuff that I could count on in a station in a Citadel, and they kind of released that piecemeal after, right? So it was like they'll put something in the game that's a little beta-like, and then they got to tweak it and enhance it and then bring it up to its full release later, right? But the game itself is really a full release, and we've all played a lot of video games, and we all keep playing Eve. The real thing that I would like CCP to do with their recent change is actually come out and promote the damn game. Okay? Aside from this suck ass SOV system that they've got to fucking fix. Okay? We went from a shit SOV system to a shittier SOV system, okay? And that's my bitch of the day. I should have a whole segment, Eric's bitch of the day. And it'll always be the SOV system until it's fixed.
We should know. We need a 5-second clip. Is the SOV system fixed? And it just says no.
No. Okay. we need a graphic. Can we get that INN graphic up there?
There's a website that says, has the world ended yet? And it just loads and it says no. We need one of those for Eric.
We need one of those. But but think about the rest of this game outside of perhaps the SOV system that we just deal with, right? It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, and if you would just market the shit out of this, maybe we wouldn't have less players. Maybe we'd really have more. And I get that there are pieces of this game that are too complicated and should be dumbed down a little bit, but not everything, right? You can still make things hard and challenging without making them require 82 pieces of materials to build. Okay, so I think. Yeah, I think true marketing from a CCP level, and after 15 years, right, usually that software is outside of marketing. I don't think Eve ever got to the point of ever being marketed in the right way.
Well, I think they leave it up to the community.
We've had this talk before where we're literally, I asked y'all, has anyone seen an ad on a device that they don't personally own for Eve? Like, have you loaded into YouTube on someone else's phone and seen an ad for Eve? No, you don't even see a reference to it.
If you look at how a lot of the recruiting goes for, like, say, people that come in, like, it's just by, say, talking to people. It's like, would you think this guy is going to survive in Eve? Yeah, he may have some freaking fun, but I mean, Eve is not freaking WoW. Like, WoW is trash, okay? I mean, but you come into this, you actually have to have some skill to start out in this thing, man. Because when I first started out, I was like freaking like whoop. But you go up and like I go and talk to I just talked to someone brand new at my job the other day, and I was like, yeah, this is EVE Online, this is what this does, and blah blah blah. And you just start talking, and you see that light shine in their eyes. It's like, yeah, go try it now. By the way, it's free for the time being for you to try it out, and you might like it. So. I mean, it's like we as players are the recruiters. We are the promotion for it, and that's I think what we more need to do. And it's like, and it makes the community better because you're keeping it stable.
Yeah, think of Zarker in our corp, right? And McLeod, you know Zarker, right? So somehow Zarker gets hooked up with us in H1Z1 in the Imperium group, right? And Zarker's playing with us. Did you ever know the whole time we were playing H1Z1 that Zarker had tried Eve?
Nah.
He hadn't tried it?
He had tried it. He had tried Eve years before, played it for a little while, couldn't grasp it, and just quit. Now, this is an individual who sits down and figures out the game and figures out how to min-max the game, right? I mean, he certainly did that in H1Z1, right? I mean, and he can play. I mean, this is not a I'm too dumb to play video games guy.
We're not talking about someone who kind of like tries something out for like 5 minutes and goes, nah, and then just moves on. Like, he will sit down and really, really, really work at, like, you know, figuring out a game before he's either in or out of it. Like,
yeah. So he hears us talk about it forever, and finally he pings me and he says, Eric, I'm gonna try Eve again. Can I join your corp? And we're like, well, Zarker, like, we know you're in. Right, so in the first week he's there, and he says, Eric, oh my God, Goon Forums has everything that I've been looking for all my life about Eve. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, like a year ago I played for six months, and I just couldn't get the game. I just couldn't find it. I just couldn't get anywhere. But oh my God, your forums tell me exactly how to play this game. And the dude min-maxes everything, and he's fucking in a carrier in a week or two. You know, and he farms the shit out of everything, and he loves the game, and now he goes and he PvPs and he gate camps, and he just loves the game.
Fucking Tom of Fire.
I mean, I'm fairly certain that he actually has more money and more actual capital ships than me.
I think he might have more than me.
2008.
I think he might have more than me.
And I've been playing almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's killer.
So, it's like I was saying, that one girl I was talking to at work, like when I said her eyes like lit up, I was like, I'm like explaining to her, it's like, it's not your typical game. It's like, you can get in right now and you can come and fly with us and go get in some freaking really big fights, and you can fly this and this and this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm going to check that out. Like, I see how it's actually could work with, say, alpha cloning everything, where the community itself, us, Eric, you, whatever, whoever the hell it is, can actually bring people out, and then you get them into something like, say, Goon Forums, and it teaches them everything, and then you have everybody else in your team guide you. So it's all about kind of, say, a mentorship within the game. You're supposed to steward this game. It's been around for so long. You're supposed to steward your profession, and that, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But,
and really the thing is, if you don't hook up with a group who have some players that have played for a while, you're gonna be lost for a while.
And you're gonna either frickin' quit or whatever. So it's like you recruit people from wherever. Or even another example is one of my buddies. He was actually an old goon, way back goon, and he came in and then quit again. I'm like, here, this is what Eve is now, and he's like, oh God, I want to download this again. And he wanted to come back, but he's got a bad internet. But it's just all word of mouth.
I just put
it's
in
like,
chat.
It's
right?
like
I'm still waiting for this application, right?
I'm not entirely certain which kind of way around this works, but like I think it's like Eve is like the worst best kept secret, or like is it the worst best kept secret or the best worst kept secret?
But maybe that's the point of it, though.
Kept secret because it's a secret and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine this? If we didn't have the way Eve works right now and the way people come in, could you imagine with all the freaking like the shitlers and freaking WoW or whatever, and all the freaking the stupidness and WoW coming into Eve? Could you imagine how much you'd probably not want to play this fucking game if it wasn't as controlled as it is?
If I read Reddit, I would never play this game.
one of the most successful MMOs of all time.
No,
So-
if I read r/Eve, I would never play this fucking game. Okay?
Oh yeah, it's,
never
it's
would pick it
fucking
up.
Salt. It's poison.
Yep, and
Yeah,
Doom
the
and
way
Troll.
people kind of.
Doom and Troll brings up a great point in chat here. He says he might sound a little funny, but says that Eve needs work on the casual aspect of the game too, and I think he's entirely right.
That's what CCP is kind of doing at the moment. Is they're
Yeah.
trying to make it more accessible. A lot of people are sort of basically pew-pewing it because
Yeah,
you know,
no, I agree.
they look at it and go, well, no, this game is hardcore. It has to be just hardcore for everybody. And like to an extent, maybe, but like you have to kind of at least give people a bit of a chance.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
I think where they don't make it casual is in nullsec.
Yeah.
Don't try and make nullsec and Sov casual, and I think they try to do a little bit of that. But there are 100 aspects of this game that you can do that with, right?
So let me ask a question here because
Mhm.
this is from when I first
Summer
started
children.
playing Eve in 2010, I think. Yeah, something around there. When I heard about Eve, they're like, oh, so there's this thing. So there's wormhole space, there's HiSec, there's nullsec, and there's faction warfare. And I'm like, okay, well, explain this to me. Wormholes or HiSec was all your experiences. This is where you go to just build skills and kind of learn some basic mechanics. And then there's LowSec, which is for casual PvP into hardcore PvP, and it leads to each other. At which point you go to NullSec, and then Wormhole Space is just fucking weird.
Yep.
Like
And-
that was literally how it was
Yeah.
described to me, and it still seems that way to me. And I think they can do some work on LowSec PvP and actually get more people involved because they have the sites that limit the ship class, and I mean, I can take my Alpha Cruiser out there and just wreck people just because I know how to fly,
Yep.
and I don't actually have to care, like, oh, I've lost a 2 millionist ship, who cares?
Yeah, and we have
nice
about 1 minute left. I want to give a shout out to Ingress. He calls the people who like casual Eve summer children. I think that's what you're referring to, Ingress. If I'm wrong, just correct me in chat. But yes, and every game needs fanatics and Bloodstorm TV. 100% agree with his statement. He's more relaxed in nullsec than he is in HiSec, and I certainly am.
Yep.
Even with my alt corp characters that have no war decks against them, right?
HiSec scares me.
I want to thank everybody for the subs and everything, and certainly listening to us and hanging out with us here today. Really appreciate the chat marks. Coming up next is the Meta Show. At least I think it is. I don't know what they're talking about in the Meta Show, but I bet you it has something to do with CCP and layoffs and maybe even some interesting nullsec stuff. Who knows? Everyone say bye. Bye. All right, we got to run because Meta Show is up next. See you guys next.